Here to give us his thoughts on this week's market and how he's advising his clients, we've got Matt Powers, Powers Advisory Group managing partner here. Matt, great to have you on here with us today. So let's just make some sense, first of all, of what we've seen over the course of this week.
Yeah, it's been interesting. Thanks for having me on. Good morning. We had a record high and got to a record high in the middle of last month, and some rotation away from tech, and primarily there's a few reasons. I mean, I think we all know this, but it's certainly an overly concentrated market, and the rotation away from mega cap growth stocks. But yeah, the yen, the carry trade, and then weaker than expected jobs data all fed into kind of a crazy choppy week that we just had.
A crazy choppy week, but it didn't seem like investors were, even though there was a massive sell-off that permeated over into Monday from prior week and Thursday and Friday's trading activity. It seemed like, based on our conversations with strategists and a few CEOs of some major trading platforms, that investors might have run out of some positions but ran back in to other ones where they could find some deals as well. What were you seeing on that front?
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting. The downturn left very few holdings, very few names untouched, but investors definitely retreated to some of the safe havens, which your traditional utilities, REITs, and defensive sectors. But the bounce back Tuesday and then clearly yesterday made this look a little bit less of a huge across the board loss and more to come, and more just a typical sell off.
So take us into your. Yeah. It sounded like you were about to hit this, but take us into your investment philosophy then with that activity that we had seen and the retreat into some of those safe havens.
Yeah, so we're primarily dividend growth focused. So we're looking at companies that pay a history of a growing dividend, and typically we're really looking at a strong entry point into these companies. And we've told our clients, that doesn't mean that we're excluding the tech trade and the mega cap companies, but mega cap tech side, the Mag 7. But a lot of our clients have been zeroed so heavily into those that we're trying to shift here just a little bit and refocus. And our advice really has been, don't overreact to market volatility, especially don't completely sell off some of the affected areas, but start looking more opportunistic, start looking at some of the unloved, unappreciated areas of the market, specifically defensive sectors, small caps, et cetera. And if you're a dividend growth investor, clearly you've had to be patient, at least over the past 18 months. But now we see is the time to overweight in those areas.
With that in mind, are there, in addition to sectors, specific outperformers that you would be tracking within those sectors?
Yeah, so I'll just give you a few sectors that we're looking at, and some that we've overweighted, but consumer staples, and they're traditional defensive, but consumer staples, healthcare, utilities, REITs, and yeah, not exciting. None of those sectors are typically exciting, but we're in this situation where there's some tailwinds that are back with regards to dividend growth, and you can shift your investment strategy a little more towards holdings that are more conservative, and you've got again the tailwinds of potential rate cuts here in September. So in the consumer staples area, Mondelez, everyone knows Ritz, Oreo, Chips Ahoy, Wheat Thins, Triscuit, on and on. They're number one in biscuits, number two in chocolate, number three in pastries and snack bars. But the thing that's striking with them is right now you'd lock in a once in a decade high in their dividend yield. Q2, they actually just increased their dividend payouts 11%. So, if you're a dividend investor, that's one we certainly would look at. If you go into healthcare, Eli Lilly, which if we had this conversation Wednesday, it looks a little bit different. They had their earnings report. Both Zepbound and Mounjaro just crushed sales estimates, and they beat their earnings, they beat their revenue numbers, and they increased guidance. So Lilly's been on a tear, but we've been steadily adding to that since the drop in mid to early July.
Interesting. Yeah, one of the larger earnings moves that we've seen over the course of this period here. Matt Powers, who is Powers Advisory Group managing partner. Matt, good to grab some time with you. Thanks so much.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
Definitely.